Hi everyone, this is Ken's here at Fool's Flow, and I just wanted to thank you for checking out this video. But today we are going to be doing a deep dive exploration of the Lovers card. And if I had it my way, I would have released this on June 6th, 2022, because that was perfect numerologically, but that's okay. We are doing this now in July, and I will be doing a Cancer season video as well for the Chariot. I'm just going to keep this going throughout the whole year, but I really intend to catch up to the actual season that we're in. But I think it's also nice to just sort of reflect after it's over, you know? But anyway, how these videos go is I take out all of my tarot cards that match the card that we're talking about, all my different lovers cards in all my decks, and then I pull oracle cards or really anything that I find relevant to all of the different meanings and aspects of a card. And then I sort of see what kind of story they're telling, and I put them together in groups that I think make sense and sort of talk about this progression of different meanings. So if that sounds good to you, you know, I always say you'll probably learn something and you'll definitely get to enjoy some beautiful cards and artwork. So either way, for whatever reason you're here, thank you, and let's just get right into the video. Okay, so I like this layout. Here are all of my lovers cards. So let's just discuss some of the themes, some of the similarities, what you look for in this card. You know, if you were just looking at art with no words, how would you pick out the lovers in a tarot deck? So when we go to the original card from the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, we have two lovers under an angel, and they're very much twinning, mirroring each other. We have the reference to the Garden of Eden because we have the snake here, the apples, and honestly I haven't paid much attention to this burning tree before, but that is interesting. And there's this mountain between them. It's like a lot of obstacles you personally might need to overcome. Okay, so here are all of my lovers cards. I think they look so good together. But let's talk about the artwork, some common themes that you'll see. Like if you just saw a card in a deck without the text, how could you pick out the lovers? So we'll start out with the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith lovers card, and there's a lot of detail wrapped up in this. I probably need to like cover it. I don't know. I'm not monetized or anything, but you know, if nudity offends you, sorry. But we have Adam and Eve here, just a femme and masc couple, and they really sort of represent like the divine feminine, divine masculine. It's very cis heteronormative, but it's okay. I, as a non-binary person myself, have come to sort of appreciate these things differently in tarot, but regardless, these two are in the process of coming together into union. The angel above them is golden. Gold is the color of alchemy, or it's an important color in alchemy, and it's the color of consciousness because of that sun energy you see behind the angel. All that yellow symbolism means understanding and awareness of self, and you know, these are things that you need in order to come into a good, healthy relationship. And, you know, on the femme side here, we have the snake and apples, and, you know, the energy of the tree essentially is going downwards into the ground. And then with our masc friend here, we have the burning bush, and all of that flame and fire energy is going upwards. And so these are just different elements of yin and yang, being more passive and being more active, but like you know, this side is fertile, this side is more ignorant about certain things. So they have such potential to balance each other out. They're already starting to mirror each other. This mountain between them, it's supposed to sort of remind us of grounding and how we're all connected to the earth. I also kind of see it as, you know, a mountain you need to surmount and problems to get over. So yeah, those are definitely, so that's definitely a potential obstacle between them, and we'll of course look into that more later on. But those are just some of, like, I could honestly go on all day. I don't think I even know all of the names that derive directly from the artwork in this card, but yes, what you really need to know is that there's this twinning, this mirroring, and yeah, you'll always see two of something, right? Except for this one, very unique card, very unique deck in general. This is sort of the mass-produced version of the Pink Pain Tarot. I don't have the original release, sadly. That would be so cool. But I have this version, and yep, that's kind of the only Lovers card I've ever seen that just has one individual, and they've got sort of a Cupid vibe going on. I like their halo, kind of reminds me of oneness, which is something we're going to talk about, because up until this point in the Fool's journey, the Fool has been meeting individual characters, but the point of the Lovers is when we really start thinking about like duality and oneness, and so, you know, coming together, the blurring of lines and people, and how do we maintain individuality while still coming together in a healthy, beautiful way. So I think this sort of merging energy is a big part of it. You know, we have these beautiful light strands here. It obviously like reminds me of DNA and just sort of like this dance together where the strands of light are maintaining their own oneness, but they are dancing together in life. And I think that's an especially beautiful Lovers card. I also like Lovers cards with birds. I think there are a lot of those. I really like the Lovers in the Majestic Earth Tarot. I think they're just like a lot of swan couples where I live that are so cute. And yeah, you know, we have this tenderness, embracing each other. I think that, you know, that's something we're going to explore later as well. Again, mirroring here, and these hands kind of remind me of like the fact that there's an offering being made. You know, a big part of the Lovers is making this choice. Like, it is a choice to come together. It's a choice to identify that this could be a good union, you know, like, are you aligned with this person? Are you, you know, are your frequencies resonating in a harmonic way, or is it creating chaos, you know? I don't know. Interestingly, I have Hawthorne as the Lovers in two different decks. So, you know, that's cool when different deck creators sort of align on something that firmly. Also have it as peonies here. Later versions of the Gentle Tarot have a more gender neutral Lovers card, which is really cool, but I think that one is really cute. And again, you get that duality here between them, which is a nice touch in that card. I don't really want to spoil Steven Universe if you haven't watched that show yet and you're going to, but yeah. And the question here on this Lovers card is, how far would you go for love? Which is a really important question. And interestingly enough, I think this card is really mimicking the Devil card, actually. The snake is there too. But the way that these are almost chained up or kind of being wrangled makes me think of the Devil, and we will bring that in at some point to sort of talk about negative attachments, but that card in tarot really mirrors, I'm already talking about mirroring, but mirrors the Lovers card pretty closely. Yeah, I don't want to go on for too long, but I hope you can see all of these different themes of awareness of self, but attraction to other, and people acting as mirrors for each other, and everything that goes into making the choice to come into union. I think people really forget, like, if you have like hardly any knowledge of tarot, and you're just seeing it, I feel like it's easy to just be like, okay, love, couple, relationship reading, like relationship. But it's also very much about choice, and that's a really important part of the card that can get lost sometimes. So I definitely want to make that part of it. Anywho, let's just move on to the next part. Okay, so this first section is all about manifestation, because I think when people call in a lover or an opportunity that's aligned with them, I'm mostly going to focus on relationships in this reading, but again, the card can apply to many different things in your life. But when you call that in, you really are in that magician energy where you are summoning your desires and making them manifest and show up in the 3D. And, the magician is all about oneness. They're number one in the major arcana, and they have all of the tools that they need and all of the self-assurance and blessings to do whatever they want and summon whatever they want. And it really just shows how in tune they are with the entire universe or multiverse. They're tapped in, and that's how they have their power. They use that yang energy. So I just wanted to acknowledge kind of the magic and creative vibes that go into the sort of beginning of the lover's journey. And I wanted to make sure that I made these pop. Oh, this deck is so cool. It's called the Empyrean by the Threads of Fate, if you're not aware. I can read some of these. So, energy field, get back what you put into the universe, manifestation, attraction, momentum. Calling in that soulmate is definitely magician energy. This is kind of the start of the journey. I loved that. So I had a wishbone card, and then I realized this is a new deck. I have another wishbone card, and not only that, it is number one. This wish fulfillment, this tool that a magician would have and use and get what they want. So I hope you can see how sort of that desire, sort of general, and then we sort of hone in and get more focused on what we want, but that desire is there. The divine language, I liked sort of the spiral here, and I don't know, it just sort of tapped into the divinity of it all for me. The Wren says, be bold and confident, use all of your resources to create your dreams, magician energy. Live intentionally. Today, be mindful of your routines and rituals, ones that are purposeful and ones that are unconscious, creating space to practice discipline in these areas. At bedtime each night, plan one small action for the next day. It is also a good practice to pause throughout your day and ask yourself how you can live intentionally right now. So, yep, and it's important to be open and not doubt the possibilities. You really do need to believe in yourself. And I think that self-trust is what helps us begin to live more intentionally, because we know that we can rely on ourselves. And I think that's a really important part of developing and maturing before you enter into a union. You don't have to be in the most immaculate human being that exists before you do that, but that is an important part of the journey. Yeah, I like all these like circles and spirals. Anyway, that's all I had for this part, but that is the very exciting and magical beginning of the lover's journey. Okay, so this next part is kind of an extension of the manifestation and magician energy, where it's kind of about two different things. So there's the mirroring aspect and the reflecting aspect of the lovers, that duality again, that twinning, reflection. This here is also reflection. can show it. Cool, right? Yeah. But it's kind of all talking about, again, this paradox of oneness versus interconnectedness. Like, that is confusing. Okay, look at the background on this. It's so pretty. I'm trying not to get distracted by how pretty the cards are. But anyway, things are only going to come in with divine timing, right? There is sort of this, like, this mushroom dimension, everything is connected, connection, magic, openness. We had openness in the past pile and with magic. You can't force it in the end. You know, these things, like, truly falling in love, I feel it's so special. So we really are focusing on romantic relationships right now, but coming into alignment with anything is so special if you really are that destined or just drawn to each other. And so I didn't know quite what pile to put this intervention card in. I feel like it could fit a lot of places, but I have it here. It also reminds me of the Magician, the way that it's just using, or has this snake and is pointing upwards as the Magician tends to do. And, you know, yeah, this would definitely be relevant later on in the video as well, but ultimately, like, the universe has the final say in what happens, and there's just so much that goes into, I was just talking with my friend about this today, there's so much that goes into being aligned with someone or something, like, everything, the timing, the location, the values, the place that you're at in life, like, I can't even really capture that with words because there are just so many different variables that need to come together at the exact perfect time. And so that's why I sort of included these things like spark and the flame, because it really is this sort of magical peaking of energy. You know, we have these two birds here, interesting, kind of more mirroring. Emotions are the reflection. It just shows, like, are you ready to have this very different emotional experience where all of a sudden you are tied to another person, or you're committing a lot of your time and energy to a certain thing or group. This spark here is so interesting. Like, this person is so passionately playing, and then it's sort of branching off into these hearts. So, you know, it's easy to get invested really quickly, and it makes sense when we remember the interconnectedness of things, the symmetry, reflection, this integration. It's just important that we don't lose ourselves and lose, or, you know, forget to incorporate lessons that we've already learned. But of course, there are going to be many lessons on this journey as well. But yeah, I feel like this one was a little complicated, but the twinning, mirroring, reflecting part of the lovers and sort of the questioning of where the lines are between you and others. You know, it's so easy to become codependent. It's so easy. I'm realizing too, this 34 here for spark, a lot of people view that number as referring to divine union because the Empress and the Emperor are 3 and 4. So that made me think of that. So very much fitting, fitting the topic. Anyway, that's all I have for this. We can move forward. But it really is exciting to come together with something or someone, perfect divine timing, and realize that you have the potential to be aligned. Okay, so this next section I'm going to call the energy is gaining momentum, or maybe just heating up, but it is this shifting, a change in the wind, shifting, where the attraction and desire are building and things are just getting more and more intense. So yeah, it's really important that at some point someone is bold and makes the first move. This card here is attract. as well. Gotta show that off. I thought it was interesting that the two cards I pulled for this were number 3, Desire, and number 34 with the Attraction, and that was the 34 that we just talked about, along with the 3 being Empress energy. So yeah, sort of just recognizing the abundant potential in front of, like, that's in front of you, and like things are really just like about to take off. This crane is, you will soon enter into a beneficial partnership. Luck and longevity bless this union. So yeah, whether it's a relationship or some other opportunity, or at some point the choice becomes clear. And I have the Two of Cups from the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot to sort of show this offering energy. So at a certain point, that's where things are going, and then you can sort of assess what this offering means. You can sort of see the, how am I gonna look up how to say that? But these snakes twirling together. I know the spelling of the word, but I need to look up the pronunciation. Okay, so I just looked it up. It's caduceus, those intertwining snakes. And so we just again have that duality. If you remember that Lover's card that had sort of the intertwining energy, once again sort of an angelic force watching over this union. And again we have sort of like the green and red headbands, so, and a mountain. So really this card has a lot in common with the Lover's card, and it really just shows the emotional part of the union. Yeah, okay, now I finally understand raindrops. I always wondered, like, why is it water? But it is about feelings, and a lot of feelings come up during this time, you know, fear, anxiety, doubt, worry, excitement, obviously, desire, questioning, all these different things. But as this energy builds, a fiery climax approaches, and the offering can be made. And then we sort of enter into the next part. So let's go to that now. Okay, so the offer has been accepted and the portal to union is opening. We have portal, a new door is opening, beginnings, opportunities, adventure. And so this is where we have that sort of, well, maybe the choice hasn't necessarily been made, but I guess there's this just sort of like quantum bit of it all, right? Where it's like, until you make that choice, so there's so many different pathways. And even if you make a certain choice, there are just infinite more pathways opening up. We had Garnet in the Lover's card in the beginning, and that character can see future possibilities in Steven Universe. It's really cool. There are other cards in this deck that are like that as well. But you can sort of see through the myriad of colors here, like, there's so many ways things can go. But I guess what I really wanted to capture here was sort of this threshold energy when you're in between worlds, like just starting to figure someone else out. I just have like between worlds and in between worlds and merge. Ostrich is the choice is clear for you now. Follow the wisdom and truth you feel in your heart. So again, that gateway, portal energy, and moving forward, knowing into the unknown, knowing that you're going in the right direction. So on this journey, there will be many voices that call to you of the right way to go, but truly only you know your path. Sometimes it might seem as though you are lost or that you are going in circles, but trust that you are where you need to be. You will learn all that you need when you surrender to the flow and trust your intuition. And this card always makes me think of Princess Mononoke, because character in that rides a red stag. I forget the exact species name, but yeah, it always reminds me of that. But, and we have this llama here too. And the llama has horns. So isn't that interesting? Plus a unicorn and 2 birds. I didn't even process that. Okay. So again, I feel like birds come with a lot. But regardless, I think an important part of this too is like, you know, being in love. Every day you are choosing that person, right? Like there's so many people who just sort of give up when things aren't exciting anymore, when this energy is fading away, or when things get difficult. But, you know, being in any kind of union, whatever the lover's partnership is, you are choosing to take that portal, that door every day, you know, or to continue down that path instead of branching off at any moment. And so it's not just one choice to begin something, but the choice to continue pursuing that thing every day. And I think that's important. So again, they're just these constant, infinite possibilities, and you're always on some kind of threshold into the unknown. So yeah, I hope that showed the making a choice and the just sort of excitement of the new start and a new romantic cycle, but that every day is an opportunity to reaffirm those choices. So the previous section was more focused on sort of all the possibilities that are before you when you're making a choice, but this part is focusing specifically on the energy of making that choice, saying yes, putting a label on it. I had to do this card, it's so funny. Whether it's a relationship or it's signing a contract for a job or anything like that. We have the vow and the ring here. A marriage will take place, either romantic or business. So you're making this commitment with choice here. We have understanding consequences. This come together card is so cute and very lovers-esque. We have another bird in there too, which is interesting, but very much mirroring energy. Agreement also has a quill to sort of sign off. I'm just noticing that now. That's really funny. I like the 24 as well. Sort of this like union and stable energy with the 2 and the 4. And it adds up to 6, which is the lovers. Interesting. With define, I should show define and pillar. So this is what this looks like. Really cool angel energy. And the pillar here, you know, you're laying the groundwork for something big and you're defining what this relationship is going to be. You know, that's really important, whether you are starting a job or, you know, even if it's just a friendship, you want to be aligned. Alignment. And the Earth Star chakra, along with her Grimmer Diamond, is that card. But it is, and there's a bird in the vow too. And it's interesting that the number 9 keeps coming up a lot. It's there. This adds up to 9. This is 9. It's a lot of 9s. But it is kind of that like sort of ending energy, or at least like the culmination of a chapter and the beginning of a new one. Well, the beginning of the new one would be like 10, because 10 immediately resets. With 2 and 9 here, we have 29. That would be again the union energy, and that 9 energy we just talked about. If you added it up, it would be 11, which is also the mirroring, the magician energy. It adds all the way back down to 2. So fun numerology in this one. 39 here as well, Empress and 9. Anywho, that's all I have for this one. I just wanted to touch on the significance of, again, how special it is to be aligned and how big of a deal it is to make this vow. Pretty sure crows mate for life, so it's pretty romantic. But yeah, there are a lot of hands that come together. Yeah, I like these 2 hands together here. But yeah, everything is coming together and you're setting up for something potentially really special and enduring. So that was choice, or the vow, or the commitment. Okay, so this section is about trust and intention. And I put the kiss here because it's sort of this opening up where you begin to go deeper and get really curious about each other or whatever it is that is unfolding in front of you. But yeah, after the vow is made, there is actually exploring that space that you've now created, right? I really like that trust has this square, that stable energy that you can really like lean on and have as a support. We have intuition and intention along with trust. I love that the intention in this deck is 22, so 2-2. It's that alignment, that union energy, that idea of you're creating something together with this egg. This intuition here with the water element and aquamarine reminds me of the Two of Cups because there are two scallops, which is also like Venus-y, well, Venus-y, Venusian energy, which is very much about love and beauty. It's interesting that we have that 4 energy again of stability, and same with 8. I put ask body because I think that's important when you're starting to build trust in a situation and starting to get more involved. You know, how does your body feel about it? If you remember that mountain back in the original Lovers card, there is very much an earthy groundedness to it. And so I think that's important to not just get like lost in the sauce and all the watery moon energy. It's easy to lose sight of where things are actually at pretty quickly, especially if you have a certain idea of how you want things to be. So this is where it starts to get really important to be vigilant, to be intentional, and to know where you stand. I guess I probably should have thrown in some cards about boundaries, but yeah, this trust here, these moths are mirroring each other, but is it an illusion or is it actually reality? So it's really important to stay curious, assume the best intentions, but really just be aware. I have a become aware card too that has a leopard on it. What was I thinking? You can imagine. Anyway, that is trust and intention. Okay, this one is chaotic, but let's just go with it. So finally, we have reached the lover. I know we already had the lovers in the beginning, but at this place in the union, this is where we focus on the burgeoning love and the connection, the passion about how amazing the alignment is, feeling great about your choices, and also being vulnerable, being tender, being sweet. There's something very disarming about being so invested and hopefully being authentic in a connection. And we have a lot of different themes. So we have roses and flowers, tulip is great passion, lily is spiritual love. We have so many hearts, hands holding the hearts, kind of mirroring. We have so many different cute pairs of birds. I can't even handle it. Like literally there are 4. And they're adorable. These, you can't see the text, but it says loyal heart and soulmates. So cute. More hearts, and that one is the key. The other one's heart, which is that, you know, active and receptive energy. We have a lot of that receptive energy here. So we have rose quartz, gorgeous. We have some right here, cute little pellet. But that is associated with Venus and love, so more of that Venusian energy. We have the yin energy here. And I would definitely say from before we had that sort of bold, it even had Aries energy in it, the sort of making the first move. If you want to learn more about the Emperor card, shameless plug, that is one of the videos that I made for Aries season, so feel free to check that out. Along with a lot of this group is reminding me of the video I made made for the Empress. So I would also encourage you to check that video out if you want to learn more about both of those energies. It's basically like splitting this in two and looking at one lover at a time. And of course, we are not saying that there has to be femme and masc like all the time, like absolutely not. You know, that is not the only picture of how lovers look, and I want to make that really clear that, yeah, that's where we're at this channel. But it's really more so, there are keys in this one too. It's really more so to talk about just the feeling of being interwoven and coming together. We have Libra here, Venusian energy. I like the 4 with this sort of stability. Let's see, that's 17. 33, this piece of joy. It's that kind of is a card, like angel number of like, yeah, just really powerful change making and manifestation abilities. So it makes me think of, it's like the Empress times 2, or it's just like, wow, everything is coming together. This is the part where it's like you really get to start enjoying it, and feeling good and confident about your decision. And again, it really is a vulnerable thing to bring love into the situation and get closer and closer. It once again brings up ideas of like, you know, bleeding into each other. Like, where does the separation lie? This mirroring. It's interesting that these two are looking out. There's a moon behind them, but this is connect to heart. So sometimes we don't want to look at the mirror in our life, and I'm not talking about the inanimate kind. Any kind of, well, job would be inanimate, but any kind of mirror, sometimes we don't want to engage with that or see it, and that's where things do become difficult at times. But it's just important to, with Rose Valley, go forward with a soft and open heart, love, feminine energy, and again, vulnerability. I didn't read the Lover either, so I can do that. Lover is light attributes, great passion and devotion, unbridled appreciation of someone or something, and shadow attributes, obsessive passion that harms others, and self-destructive devotion. And we're going to go more into sort of the shadow of the lovers later on, but yes, once again, a heart there. This is just where it's so easy for things to get out of balance really quickly. You're sort of lost in all this sparkly magic. You know, we have the flame here in this love, that spark that we talked about before. Love grows love, so it just multiplies. You can get swept up pretty easily. So let's continue on to talk about more elements of the union. But I hope this was a fun look at, you know, maybe one of the more straightforward meanings that you would expect from this card, right? So there you go. Okay, so this next part is all about the nectar, the pleasure, the ecstasy, the bliss, the happiness, the play, the blessings, you know. So there is just something really special about feeling passionate about what you do or who you're with. There's a really special energy, I think, that's generated by a high vibrational union, or just feeling like you're in the right place at the right time, being embodied, feeling like you're walking in your purpose, you're standing in your truth. It's so special. So let me read off the hedonist here, which, you know, this isn't a personal attack. It's just the light attributes are inspires creative energy to embrace the good things in life, celebrates the beauty in yourself. Like, the hedonist is not afraid to indulge in pleasure. With the shadow attributes, it pursues pleasure to the detriment of health, indulges at the expense of others. So of course, with everything, there needs to be balance. I like the balance in this there. Other notes about love and this pleasure energy, which again, you can find a lot of this in the Empress video too, but we have more of that receptive and penetrating energies. I realize that this river here like flows into this rainbow energy here, which is really cool. We have a lot of circles. The sacred sexuality here has the moon and more roses. I like the geode. I have another geode card, but I thought this was enough. But divine love is what it's all about. The blessed has another 22. Once again, 6 has bliss, like the, 6 like the lovers. And I would say, I'm pretty sure it's the only card in this deck where like the dragon and the humanoid look like they're having that much fun. And a lot of them, they're just standing there like looking really like badass and cool and stuff. But yeah, it's the only one where, I don't know, are they more than friends? I don't know. They're definitely in ecstasy, having a good time. I love dolphin energy with the playfulness, the happiness. I like that I have these 2 different cards that have 2 dolphins together, enjoying life. Of course, there can be too much concern with these kinds of matters with the rabbit. That little baby elephant in the milk and honey, it's like, are you good? Are you okay? Like, are you taking this too far maybe? But again, just more of that delicious nectar, all this flowing water energy with the feelings. So that's that. I just wanted to show that part of it too. Like there really is that sort of sensual, deeply energizing part of feeling aligned and the excitement of, I mean, if your partner or the thing is just another aspect of you, that, there's this illusion of separation, right? But it's like coming together with another aspect of you, or being able to see yourself through the eyes of someone else, or see how you project and reflect things off of someone else. It's really fascinating and so helpful for growth. And I think that feeling like physically pleasured or just comfortable and safe is such a nice environment to be able to start doing some of that growth. I like that there are 2 roses with this too, kind of more of that symmetry. So, and milk and honey even, it's like two things together, and they're all blended together in there too. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, yeah, I think this part kind of speaks for itself, but it's more than just like lovers, haha, like sexual activity. It's a lot deeper than that, so I hope I conveyed that. So this section is about making adjustments. Adjustments are eventually required. I have the companion here to talk about sort of how things develop as you, again, continue to choose each other and deepen your relationship and your commitment to each other. So we have light attributes, loyalty, tenacity, unselfishness, and shadow attributes, betrayal by misusing confidences, loss of personal identity. So I thought that was super relevant because, again, this is about being loyal to the vows that you made, the commitments that you made, holding true to those, or communicating and adjusting if that needs to be done. But we don't want to be betrayed, and we don't want to lose our personal identity as well. We don't want to fully blend with the other person. We need to maintain our own individuality while being there for them. I like that we have these 2. I did not even mean to put those next to each other, but I like that we have these 2 twins looking away from each other. Very fitting that one of the Gemini cards would be relevant for this, but communication is key. And I have Keep Your Word and the Set Boundaries card I think I mentioned earlier as well. So I won't read those off. They're pretty much straightforward, but you have to have the patience to play out all of the adjustments, and your commitment will be tested, but it's important that you meet at the halfway point, meet in the middle. Keywords are compromise, common ground, and reconciliation. I have 2 different listening cards here, and there's a certain humility in being able to see the less glamorous parts of a relationship or a union. You know, everyone has some part of their job that they don't like, I'm pretty sure. You know, if we're not just doing romantic relationships, or everyone has some part of a friendship that might not be perfect. But if you're like the camel and you persevere and overcome problems, you can keep going and you can make it. But this is about the aspect of the lovers where, yes, the vow may be tested, the union may be rocked, and just even if nothing major happens, as time moves on, you will naturally change and need to see if you are changing in parallel with each other or if adjustments need to be made. Are you still aligned through the changes that you're experiencing? So that's a really important part of it that might be easy to glaze over, but how is your commitment going? What kind of adjustments are required? Okay, so we have now reached the shadow, and I'm loving the symmetry of this one. It worked out really well. But if things continue to be unbalanced and there continues to be friction and misalignment and sort of not a slowing down and listening to your own needs or to your partner's needs, the shadows will just start coming out. So these are some of the most difficult cards in this deck. With Broken Elevator, we literally have your shadows are showing themselves, shadow self, fears, negative thoughts. When you're under a spell, I don't know. Let's talk about this because I really don't appreciate the whole choosing to be a victim thing. I just don't think that's helpful for anyone. Where, you know, people are like, oh, you're identifying too heavily with that. And that's very possible. Like, I'm saying this as someone who both has been victimized in many ways and has over-identified and stewed too much in the victim energy before. And yeah, just shaming people is not going to be the way to set them free. But I just think that when you're under a spell of like codependency and attachment and kind of a trauma bond or wanting to be nice, something I've just been thinking about lately, it actually can be extremely shadowy because you're still trying to exert control in a certain way, and it's coming out in this bizarre way of trying to appease someone and not be authentic to yourself. But that's actually a really shadowy state to be in. It's an ego trap. Check yourself. Ego, judgmental thinking, superiority complex. So you can also think, oh, I have it all together, like my partner's a mess, like why can't they just X, Y, or Z? Or you think you're better for not blowing up or setting boundaries or stating your needs, and unfortunately that's not true. We have temptation will test you, and flag is do not be tempted to lower your standards. We literally had the apple and the snake and the lover's card, so had to put that in. And then, yeah, it can be really tempting to, once again, ignore the reality of the union in front of you. We have lunar energy again. I also think it's really interesting how these shapes are kind of similar, but once again, we have the yin and the yang and sort of the overlap between them, but you see them still maintaining their own singularity on top of that overlap, which I think is really neat. With insect pins, I just thought that was kind of perfect in terms of like how it can feel sometimes with that trapped devil's energy again. And 10, you know, it's the card of both like endings and beginnings because it simplifies back down to 1, that magician energy again. But if you get stuck at the 10, you can't grow past that. You can't go back to the beginner's mindset. You can't start a new chapter with 1. You're just kind of trying to hold on to a state that has already passed, because things are always changing. And I threw in rescuer because that's just another trope that can show up a lot of the time. Even if you say to yourself, like, I don't want to fix someone, I don't want to rescue someone, I don't want to be a yes person, or be taken advantage of, like, it can just happen. Let me actually read these both out. So victim is light attribute, prevents you from letting yourself be victimized or victimizing others. Shadow attributes are playing the victim for positive feedback in the form of pity, inability to maintain personal boundaries. With rescuer, we have light attributes, provides strength and support to others in crisis, acts out of love with no expectation of reward. And shadow attributes are assumes that the rescued will reciprocate, keeps the rescued one needy. And that brings us to no one is yours but you, which is a tough card in this deck, but a very important one. And, you know, like, it's great to try to do your best and to communicate your needs and what you want. You know, we have haunted staircase, don't let what ifs haunt you, regrets, unsaid words, missed opportunities. Certainly try your best to resolve any conflict in a relationship and be flexible, but also know when it's just beyond repair or it's become too, dare I say, toxic to keep trying. I just don't know how productive calling relationships toxic is. Like, it's just so binary. I don't know. It's always kind of a sliding scale, more in my mind, or just spectrum. But regardless, this is the shadow. This is the shadow side of the union, of the lovers. It's, have I gotten so attached to this overlap between us that I'm neglecting myself and my own needs? Am I refusing to see that we may no longer be compatible, that this is actually draining from me, and someone is taking too much, you know, that taking and receiving energy is now out of balance? Something like that. And ask yourself, you know, how does this feel in my body? How does this make me crave control over the situation? So you can really sit and look around at that ego trap. But I just feel like all of these are pretty scary cards where, yeah, that's just not a place that I would want to go. The deck is different places, so. Anywho, this is the shadow. It's a difficult one, but very important to talk about. If you got the Lover's card reversed, these are different things that might be relevant in that scenario, but of course it's all situational. But this is the shadow side of the Lovers. Okay, so buckle up, everyone. This is coming apart. This is the dissolution of the union, things falling apart, the relationship ending, the separation beginning. You know, whatever amount of closeness you had is now being unwoven. It's really disappointing to get the not for you card, or see that nothing will come of this situation, but that's just the reality sometimes. Sometimes you need to reevaluate your priorities with the magpie. It is time to let go of what you no longer need. I feel like this grief card really matches the colors in coming apart, and it really does feel like this black void of, once again, like, that into the unknown energy that started at the beginning is now a lot more scary, perhaps, because now this is a completely different kind of unknown. I love this disappointment is not the end card so much. It's one of my favorites in the Inner Child Oracle deck, so I'll read it off now. Disappointment is not the end. It is okay to be disappointed. It is okay to make mistakes. We do the best we can with the knowledge that we have, but not everything will always turn out as we hope. This is a part of life, and though it may feel like the end, it most certainly is not. Do not let disappointments or the fear of disappointment keep you from enjoying your life. And this is so true. It's so easy to get so attached and so used to being in, like, joined in a union with someone. Let me show this Dark Star. Oh my god, this is also one of the coolest cards in this Empyrean deck. You can get so used to that. Once again, we have these spiraling snakes. You get so used to that that it's unfathomable to be ripped away from it, but it happens, and life does go on no matter how unfathomable that is. I feel like the magpie is like great magician, trickster energy as well, because they gather so many like shiny things and tools. Oh my gosh. I forgot that this says nope in the fortune cookie. Nope. Once again, we have yin and yang. Very interesting. But, and 6. Whoa. Okay, so there we have like more lovers reversed energy, or just definitely a lovers related card. That's really cool. But yeah, sometimes you just have to admit that nothing will come of this situation, and that does cause a lot of grief, but that can be a lot more important than staying in something that you are no longer a vibrational match with, you know? It's not even as simple as like the earthly parts of it, or however you may or may not be getting along. Like, if they're going back to that intervention card we saw earlier, if there's a divine intervention and the divine wants to take something out of your life, like, it's going to, and there's no arguing with that. Like, no arguing with that. Like, why would you even bother trying to argue with that? So the sooner you can embrace that, the better. But I'm not saying that's an easy process. Let's look at the next few sections to sort of explore that further. Okay, so now we come to letting go. And, you know, not to just keep plugging my videos, but I do have a video on the death card that I made this previous Scorpio season. So if you would like to check that out, I will put the links in the description as well. So thank you in advance. But anyway, letting go, very difficult. Those attachments, I mean, you know, there have been plenty of studies to show that this is not an easy process, like chemically challenging process, like you are withdrawing from an addictive substance with this love. So it is very hard, but you can do hard things. I feel like that one might be straightforward, but I'll read You Can Do Hard Things. There are many things in this life that we feel we cannot or should not have to do, but we must be careful of what we place in these categories, for maturity often lies on the other side. Take time today to think upon the beliefs that might be holding you back. Are you putting yourself in a box by what you cannot or should not have to do? And this deck has been so powerful for me, but we have the ship here and a ship here. Like, this literally looks like they're looking at this in the sky. Can we talk about that for a second? It's so wild. I was already noticing the color palette and stuff, but not to that extreme. That's so cool. And again, with Let Go, we have sort of the tree and the burning tree. This makes me think of the song A Burning Hill by Mitski. Very good if you are feeling heartbroken. Highly recommend if you haven't heard it. But it's hard to embrace this new reality, to accept the inevitable, let go of the past, and welcome a rebirth to begin, to use the shears to cut some cords. And the Ghostlands can kind of describe this weird liminal space, and that's why I brought up the death video. But it's really hard. With the hummingbird and chickadee, we have release what you've been carrying and lighten up. New joy is on the way. The time is right to release old patterns and energies. You are ready to embrace change. I literally thought that like right before I read it. So, you know, there are going to be stagnant energies left over that you're clinging to, And the reality is, like, this is from the past that no longer exists, and it's a version of you that no longer exists, and it's a version of whatever you were in union with that no longer exists because you've changed. You know, you can't stop time like that. You can't actually, yeah, you can't stop time like that. So the only option is surrender. It's interesting too that like endings are inevitable, but I'm also just putting together like it really is let go and let go with the tree. It's pretty cool. I love how decks, like, I don't know, are so interconnected. That's why I love doing these videos. But anyway, surrender to the divine. It's very, very challenging, but when you do that, it makes space for new energies, new things in your life. I'm sure you've heard this before, but I really want you to think about it in terms of the lovers and union and, you know, what you are energetically attached to and magnetized towards and aligning yourself with. And when you know something is wrong for you, but you continue to cling to it, it just makes things very complicated, very messy, very painful, which is not to blame anyone. It's very hard to let go, but it's a really important step of the process because no one can remain aligned and attached to everything in exactly the same way for their entire lives. That's not possible. It's not what the lovers are about. So that's just a really important consideration that you need to make. So that is letting go. Okay, so here comes the healing, the very difficult, painful healing, but I think it's really important to take time in solitude. I've lived by that for, I mean, pretty much my whole life. Some people will, you know, immediately rush to trying to feel good again, trying to seek union again, trying to fill their life. Like, you know, those people who, like, they lose their job or they become unemployed and, or even just willingly leave their job, but, are at a new job in a week or are constantly searching for jobs like day one. Like, they can't even take a moment to rest, to heal, to face themselves, to, you know, review everything that they have in their life and potentially clean house a bit. They don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. They would rather seek pleasure and escape from their pain instead of exercising and transmuting their pain. So this is about sort of striking out with that independence. I love this card. This was the card that made me want to get this deck because I was like, wow, that is so unique. You can always rewrite the story. Villain. I mean, how often do you see a card like that? I don't know. But we have gold. You don't need someone else to fix you. Cold lands. Learn how to keep yourself warm. Abandonment, challenges, and aloofness. In the tree house, find peace in being alone. Solitude, introspection, and independence. We have all these different like house-related ones over here. With practice freedom. And we have be free, do what you love. With practice freedom, we have two birds, once again, but of course also facing away from each other. Anywho, reading it out. Judgments that have been placed upon us by ourselves or by others can shackle us. Devil energy. Can shackle us, stealing our joy and will to live. Take time to remove these judgments, writing down what you have believed in the past to be true. Do not let these judgments define you. Release personal mistakes and criticisms, practicing forgiveness with yourself. So at a certain point, you hit rock bottom, you spend some time in solitude, you protect your heart while you do that, and that's when things can begin to flow. That's when you can be, after being the one ring circus, you can be the sheep who wandered and found a different shepherd. And I thought it was so funny that I already was drawn to staff. Like, the synchronicities are just so interesting, but which, interesting that one ring circus simplifies down to 6. I haven't looked at all the numbers here, but Same with breathe free, do what you love. Also, 42 becomes 6. Anyway, staff, you will be taken care of in difficult times. So either you take care of yourself, again, building that self-trust, that assuredness in who you are, what your boundaries are, like both boundaries in terms of like what you will and will not accept in behavior, but also just like who you are, what you're about, that kind of thing. To be able to do that for yourself is really important. And yeah, with the Exorcist, we have light attribute, freeing yourself and others of destructive impulses. And with the shadow attribute, we have fear of facing your own demons. So yeah, I think we all know people who can't be single and can't take that time with themselves to face their demons. Because it's not like you just get rid of them once and they don't ever come back. Like, you need to clean house regularly, and that includes like your psychic energy, your spiritual hygiene, you know? So yeah, this is a really important part of the lover's process, I think, the coming apart and flowing naturally, not pushing a certain agenda that you have, but just keeping it real and seeing how things go, but also being kind to yourself, and you can rewrite the story that way. So this is solitude and healing. Okay, we are racing the sun and the fireworks that have already started before sundown. Talk about alchemy, right? But yes, this is an extension of the previous pile because it is taking that love of solitude farther, where you start to heal even more and bring yourself into a sense of personal empowerment and additional self-love, because I feel like it can be really hard to detach from something and have your self-esteem perfectly intact, you know? Some people certainly can do that, but a lot of people struggle with it. And so, yeah, I wanted to make this part about transformation, metamorphosis. Don't let your past hold you back with the South Node. Maybe look up your South Node placement if you're not aware, but South Node and North Node are definitely interesting to study. Sky Library is kind of about like Akashic records and past lives, but you can also reflect on how your past just within this life and your mental state and all of your internalized beliefs affected how you behaved during whichever union this was. Learn from your past. Lessons, guidance, wisdom. And speaking of guidance and wisdom, I have the Bone Collector here, which is one of my favorite cards from this deck. Oh my gosh, she's amazing. She is there for you to help you heal. So this could kind of represent like a spirit guide. Maybe you want to get in touch with those, but there's a strong spiritual side of healing. Like that source of support will always be there, right? Spirit, the universe, the divine will always be there, especially if, you know, this was like a divine intervention to pull you away from something. Have the rabbit again, too much concern in sexual matters. And we have this Wheel of Fortune, but also she's a magician in her own right because she's doing this alchemizing, and she's literally #1 in the deck. So there you go. Once again, I really did not expect how much we would be talking about this, but there you go. Self-love twice, self-compassion. And this is where the most difficult part of the situation is over, and you can get peace and harmony when you heal this ouch. And of course, seeking community, you know, another part of dissolving a union can be a fear of reconnecting after that, a fear of connecting to anyone, even yourself, but especially those that are, you know, farther outside of yourself. There can be a lot of fear around that because of all of the pain and not wanting to experience that again, but it's really important to not heal solely in solitude. I feel like I probably should have emphasized that more in the last pile, but this is sort of the other side of things. So I'll read off the Alchemist card. Light attribute, transformation of base motives and goals into golden wisdom and shadow attribute, misuse of the power and knowledge that come through spiritual practice. So yes, you can misuse some of that power, but if you're just getting to the point of like understanding it in the first place, it's a bit harder to do. But you know, don't try to seek revenge or anything like that. Just focus on yourself. I'm seeing mushrooms. Everything is connected from previous card pile. Little butterfly, the transformation. Love to see it. But you deserve to be seen. You don't deserve to be in hiding forever. And I hope you speak to yourself with kindness in these kinds of times. Each day our self-talk is trapping us in old beliefs or empowering us to live a life of love and acceptance. It is just a preview of that. But yes, alchemizing the hurt, healing the ouch is very important, and doing so authentically, not rushing it, not doing it without building a base of self-love first. I think I have too many negatives in these sentences now, but really taking your time. Like, look how diligent this person is in the Sky Library. Really taking their time to get to know themselves and analyze the situation. Of course, you can overthink it as well, but I think it's so easy for some people to just never slow down. Also interesting, we have Deer here, Deer Skull here, and the Compassion card in this deck, which I guess I didn't pull, is also a Deer Skull and self-compassion. So be gentle with yourself. Speak to yourself with kindness, and this will move you towards finally feeling more peace if you are really hurting after a union has fallen apart or a love has left your life. Okay, so this one is kind of random, but I want to just sort of throw in like how other people can react to both a union and a separation. Like, sometimes other people will get in the mix and start throwing their projections in. Like, you're already dealing with like one person or entity or group, but sometimes even more people get involved. So I sort of wanted to just touch on like the loss that you're feeling might not be the only like negative or antagonistic force that you're feeling. There might be multiple issues that are hurting you at the same time, or you know, multiple people reacting to what has happened and putting additional pressure or shame or blame or pain on you, unfortunately. So here is the gossip. You know, people can certainly tend to do that. I think a lot of this speaks for itself, but the gossip, light attributes, awakens consideration for the feelings of others, honoring trust, like that trust we talked about in the beginning. Shadow attributes, thrives on the power of passing on private or secret information, betraying confidences. So that is not a good companion. So yeah, all of this is just kind of like F you. Glass box is all eyes on you, scrutiny, entrapment, and tension. Succubus caves protect your energy, draining energy, toxic relationships, temptation. These are all themes that we have talked about so far. And we have parrot with let go of others' thoughts and opinions. It is time to embrace who you really are. And on a similar note, it is okay to be misunderstood. I feel like I have so many cards with a swan in water and like a dreamy spot like that. So interesting. But we all experience life through our own personal lens of fears, desires, and pains, which can lead to miscommunication and misunderstandings. If you are currently in this situation, remember that being misunderstood is not a reflection of your worth, but a result of being human. You are complete regardless of how others perceive you. So just don't put additional pressure on yourself. You know, there are always going to be goblins, enablers, flying monkeys, trolls, haters. But you need to do what's best for you. Like, as long as you're not hurting anyone or antagonizing anyone, like, you deserve to live your life the way that you want to. and know that you tried your best in a situation, most likely, and you are moving into an even better version of yourself. That can be part of it too. You know, if you start changing and growing and transforming, as we just talked about in the previous pile, some people don't like that. So that can be sort of part of this as well. Like, people are like, why are you growing? Just stay the same. Like, you know, sort of lower vibrational state you were in when you were in this union or something like that, or they want to see you hurting and lingering in the pain and not moving forward from it. So don't seek anyone's approval. And I love this card. It's another one of my favorites from this deck. Phoenix. Come on, focus. How's that for a happily ever after? And like, it doesn't quite have middle fingers in the air, but like, might as well, right? And again, 9, which to me is kind of like the true ending, where 10 is just starting over already. But this gives me 9 of Wands energy with the smoke as well, and the Phoenix fire energy. Yeah. So, yeah, I just wanted to remind you, if this is all like hitting really close to home right now, that you're amazing and your opinion is what matters, not other people. It's really interesting to see like what comes out in these kinds of situations. But yeah, let's move on to the last section, finally. Okay, real quick before the sun sets, I want to talk about the Threads of Fate, which is the company that made both of these decks. Funny enough, I have Thread and Fate here. Very cool. Love to see it. Again, more snakes coiling around. So yes, if you're not familiar, there's something called like the red thread of fate that sort of like ties you to someone or something. And you know, that can sort of breed the idea of the one. Interesting that it's like XXS too. Anyway, is there a V1? I personally believe in like multiple soulmates, or just soul family, or like connections that might be fated, like being not, but I think it's just important to have an abundance mindset with the lovers. You know, we can easily get into scarcity and think that there are only a limited amount of unions that you can get into or things that you can vibe with, but the reality is we are constantly changing and we don't know what we're going to attract or feel attracted to or what will happen. You know, back to that flow card, we have this sort of river vibe and serendipity, and I think it's important to not ask why too much. You can ask yourself why someone is the way that they are, why you behave the way that you do, but not like, why did this happen? Like, if you really are so confused, I think it's great to sort of seek clarity with the divine, with spirit, but it's less about why and more about what. And needle and thread, we have a sincere wish will be granted. This sort of, there's needle and thread in this deck as well, and it's about like going for what you want with the needle. Again, kind of that receptive and penetrating energy, but, and again, at number 31, that's been coming up for me in general, but wow, I feel like that came up so many times in this reading, so it's interesting. But yeah, just a reminder that no matter what you feel you've lost or what might not be salvageable, or if you feel lost or hopeless or like you won't find union with someone, like, you really just never know. I know it's annoying, but like, I just wanted to talk about that, how, again, bringing this to an energetic level and our interconnectedness, like there's so many threads that you can't even see yet, or you haven't picked up on, or maybe you already have picked up on and they just haven't manifested yet, but there's so much. Like, this egg is surrounded by threads as well, interestingly enough. But yes, please just remember there are so many different types of love in this life, so many types of lover connections and unions, and I don't know, I think it's just important to, because abundance is aligned with collective liberation, right? Having that abundance mindset and the idea that everyone can have the love that they want and the connections that they want in this life, and we don't need to behave in ways that reflect scarcity or any kind of competition. I think that's really important. So yeah, these were different aspects of the Lovers. I hope this was enjoyable, informative, aesthetic. I don't know. But I really thank you for being here if you're still here. You are amazing. And again, please feel free to check out my other videos. If you liked this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up, maybe a subscribe if you haven't done that already. But yeah, just thank you so much again. I hope this was enjoyable. Stay tuned for my future deep dive videos. Next one will be the Chariot for Cancer season. And yeah, that's all for today, folks. So thanks again for being here. Take care, and I hope to see you in another video soon. Bye!